Hello everyone, welcome to Decoding Downtowns, brought to you by Vistity. In this podcast, we dive deep with leaders from business improvement districts across the nation, revealing the strategies that are shaping the future of urban development and economic growth. Thanks for joining us.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the podcast. I'm Jamie Schwartzman, and it's great that we get to work all around the country and talk to different districts. Today, we're going to downtown Charlotte. My guest is Michael Smith. He's the president and CEO of the Charlotte Center City Partners in downtown Charlotte, North Carolina. Michael, how are you today? Welcome to the podcast.
Excellent. Great to be with you, Jamie. Thanks for having me.
Well, tell us first a little bit about Charlotte City Center. Where are you? What's happening there?
So we're an almost 50-year-old business improvement. And we had great leaders in the late 70s caught on to something that seems common sense today, that we needed to have an organization that owned the purpose of creating a vibrant center city that served as the foundation for a thriving region. It's about 36 million square feet of office, it's about 4 square miles, 35,000 residents, 125,000 employees. The Charlotte region enjoys one central business district, so makes it a little easier to do transit planning and transportation planning and where are you going to put your hospitality assets. That's who we are.
Michael, I talk to a lot of place management organizations. Tell us about the partners, how you organized, how you financed.
Yeah, so as an organization, we have a C4 that's kind of the parent organization and then a couple C3s. C3s are a multi-purpose, not-for-profit, where we produce our events, where we raised a small business innovation fund, which we granted money to innovative new businesses and new ideas within existing businesses during COVID. Anytime we go after a grant, kind of special purpose money, that's where it goes, including the bike share program that we started and operate for our community. The other not-for-profit is the Market at 7th Street, and it was the first food hall in North Carolina. Great incubator of small businesses. About 85% of the businesses that have been incubated there have been women-owned, minority-owned, or veteran-owned. And within the core operation, we're a community and economic development organization. There's 25 employees in that core organization. We also work block by block and have an ambassador program that does security, hospitality, and kind of first responders to people in crisis. That's who we are.
So, president and CEO of the organization, what's that job like and what do you do every day?
So it's a privilege. My background, I was an investment banker for a little while. I was an entrepreneur and decided I wanted to do something mission-based. I thought that would be, 5, maybe a 10-year run, really give back. You have to read the local paper every day. And it's been over 2 decades. And I get to work with super talented people, both the staff and our board, our volunteers and our partners. It's people that love being able to ask the question, what if, and be able to tackle, really some of the biggest societal challenges and the biggest societal opportunities. So it's everything from chronic homelessness and mental health that's presented on the streets to public safety to academics and academic resources and innovation districts. Thus, the fact that I can't seem to set it down and continue to be challenged the way I was 2 days ago.
Well, let's talk a little bit about economic development in Charlotte and what the organization is doing to play a role in supporting economic development.
So all economic development work happens. It's most effective when it occurs within an ecosystem, and we're part of that ecosystem. We're the expert witnesses for all things South City. So we lead with research. We spend a lot of time trying to dig in and create insights that will help the market better tell the story, because the liquidity is created through the brokerage community. So much of what we do is in order to be a partner to the brokerage community, but then also to work with our regional economic development agency and our departments for economic development in the city, the county, and the state. We produce a great State of the Center City report every year. We refresh it halfway through the year, and it's intended to help investors, developers, and corporations that are considering a move here or a reload here to quickly underrate our community and understand what are its strengths, what differentiates us. And we found it's a great tool both for them and being used through the brokerage community.
Well, give us a sense. What is the state of the city center?
You know, I love that question because I get it a lot from our friends and our partners throughout our community. And the answer, it sounds a little flip, but I'll unpack it. Where would you rather be? This is a top 20 market that continues to punch as a top 10 market. State of North Carolina has been either number one or number two in business friendliness for the last few years. Charlotte was recognized as the fifth best city to live in. We continue to have 117 people a day moving to the Charlotte region. We're getting younger, better trained each day. And that's been a real differentiator for us. As we compete for jobs and investment, we lean in with talent. This is a community that is still relatively affordable. We've seen incredible appreciation with growth in housing, the appreciation of business assets. But on a cost of living basis, we're still at about 92, 93%, of that median mark. It makes a difference. It allows us to compete very well.
What are some of the challenges that are, specific to Charlotte right now?
Boy, I'm afraid the challenges that we face in downtown Charlotte are systemic and shared by my counterparts throughout North America. They connect to surge in office vacancy, in vintage office buildings. It's buildings, a number of which keys turned back over to lenders, and working with private sector and public sector partners to evaluate what are next steps. How do we shorten the cycle? Because it's our belief that if we use existing tools or rely on market forces, this will be an entrenchment, and it could be decades in resolving itself. And there's going to be smart money that is looking for opportunities to help communities solve these problems. Charlotte aspires to be on a short list. So that new capital allowing us to, with the vacancy issues we have, 500,000 square feet of, we probably have 5 square feet of vacancy that needs a, and that will either be addressed through reinvestment and repositioning, full repurposing, or full or partial demolition. Those are the tools that we have to address that. We're all facing challenges on public safety on a relative basis. I will take the problems that we have, but for us, that's about bringing partners together, calling out this as a priority, and making the appropriate investments. Where it's owned by our police department, but not solely. It's owned by property owners. It's owned through the programming that's done, the use of technology, the partnerships, the communication, and we've had a good year in that regard as far as making progress.
How would you gauge sort of the investment momentum that's going on in Charlotte right now? Are we seeing shovels in ground? Do we have cranes in the air?
Yeah, so we do have cranes in the air. We have a couple of office projects that are teetering and will likely go soon, or at least one of the two of them. We'll see which the market chooses because they're competing very well. From a housing standpoint, we've got 3,000 units of new apartments that are under construction. And, that's following a heck of a run where we had, in the last decade, there were 13,000 apartments built between 2010 and 2019. And then we have had another 10,000 that have been built since 2020. A lot of housing, but 117 people a day move into the region. I don't know that we're keeping up. There was a surge that happened at the same time, so we prices per square foot on rent rose. We had a little bit of a plateau kind of over the summer, but I think it's about the deliveries of apartments and just a lot heavy market at the same time.
And these are getting absorbed quickly. Vacancies are low.
The new apartments are getting absorbed incredibly quickly. And the pricing relief, that's slight. In Uptown, we saw pricing relief of 2.5% from the last quarter. We saw 2% in the South End. So not significant, but enough to continue to make these properties.
So let's talk about data. And what I'm interested to hear from you is, of the data you're tracking, for investors, developers, stakeholders, what data are they looking at the most?
They want to know job creation, and they want to know talent coming to them. And the good news is those two are part of a very positive flywheel. As we've continued to bring talent to our community, we continue to see good job growth, both in our sweet spot, which is financial services, which makes up a large part of our GDP, but also a great diversification that we're seeing through jobs in, we've got a new health services, wellness innovation district called the Pearl. Really, it's with the first couple buildings they built, they're basically city. So we'll continue to see that 12-acre campus get built out. Yeah, that's what we're hearing from investors as far as their demand for data.
And then how are you using the data to tell the story of economic development in the Charlotte area?
So once a year, we produce the State of the Center City report. We make it available online. We try to break it into pieces so that it can be consumed in different snippets. But then we also have a number of things that we update monthly and a number that we update quarterly, like at the quarterly development. And we make that information available on the website. We stand ready with our development partners and the brokerage firms to take inbound data requests that we can source, whether that is through data that's proprietary to us or sources that we pull together.
So you maintain a close relationship with the real estate and brokerage communities?
It's a must, because I think it's easy to see an economic development agency as the enabler. And the truth is, the brokerage community is where the liquidity is created, and the buying and selling of buildings, advocacy for companies that are looking at multiple markets, and then also just the awareness of the product that's available within.
I'll tell you, Michael, a lot of districts I talk to dream about this, about having that type of relationship, but don't have it. So from your perspective, what do you think are the essential elements that need to be in place to keep a strong relationship between the brokerage and real estate community and a district, business improvement district?
Well, the brokerage community by nature is transactional. They're relational too. I think you have to create data that is essential for them. You have to create a relationship. And when you create trusted relationships, that can be a real asset to a broker. Their income is lumpy. So they're going to be really selective about who they bring into a relationship. They normally like to lock it down pretty tight. So the more that you're able to create information that becomes an asset of theirs in their relationship with their client, the more that I think they'll be willing to use it. But then there's also opportunities where they'll pull you in because they want third-party validation of facts and subject matter expertise. And the more that we can go super deep on this set of data, and the place where I feel like business improvement districts have an extraordinary opportunity is the relationships that they have with the major employers, because they often make up their boards of directors. And those are relationships that are hard for the brokerage community to. And so if you're able to bring that kind of network to the table, it can be really valuable.
So then how do you see using data visualization, dashboards, other types of digital tools as part of your initiatives in the future?
So the state of the Center City is extraordinary because it's highly curated, highly produced, well written, well laid out. I mean, it sings. The bad part is it's like a balance sheet. It's a snapshot. It's a point in time. So part of the way we've done that is we've put QR codes within the document, which you can pop and then go to more current data visualization, and more modern tools. It's a little bit of an arms race, but I think it's responding to the needs of the consumer, because the way we acquire data and the way that we look for insights is constantly evolving, and technology and data visualization is an important part of that, because it just allows people to be able to, most people can't see in the abstract. Let's address that.
So let's look ahead to the next one short year, 12 months. What's on the table right now? What do we need to get accomplished in the next 1 year?
So Charlotte's made a couple of power moves in our center city. We just making a big investment in Tepper Sports, which owns our MLS team and our Panthers. And then we also made a big investment in Hornet Sports and Entertainment, which is our NBA team. Both of those secured 20-year commitments from those three franchises. So we know we're making reinvestments in our center city in a walk zone that's half a mile between the arena and the stadium, and we've got a couple decade commitments. The next power move is about transit. We have to have forward-looking mobility strategies, and we're very hopeful as we look down to the next year that next fall we'll have a referendum for a 1% sales tax increase that will be dedicated to mobility. During that period, we'll look to update our mass transit and mobility strategy. Those are big moves for us and are the kind of moves that we think tomorrow's talent and tomorrow's employers and investors are going to look for and shortlist. And we think that makes a big difference. But then lastly, mentioned earlier the North Tryon Tech Hub. Charlotte has an incredible public university, UNC Charlotte. And we have an area in the foreground, out back over your left shoulder, where there's a great assemblage of land owned by one family, the Levines, and also Mecklenburg County. And we've got a great vision plan for these 50 blocks. And we now have a vision plan and a great advisory committee that is made up of local developers, head of our county, deputy at our city, but then chief technology officers from major employers, banks, Honeywell, and others. And the vision for this district is to create an innovation district, the North Tryon Tech Hub, that's the intersection of academics, entrepreneurship, and corporate innovation. And we're making great headway on that, so I look forward to what we can get done from that plan in this next year.
Well, 50 blocks is quite a big chunk.
It is.
So what do you see as the long-term vision? Move it out 10 years. How do you see Charlotte heading?
So North Tryon Tech Hub, to be honest, is a 10 to 20 year strategy. It's about creating an infrastructure where tomorrow's industries want to land, where we can retain more of our entrepreneurial in our central business district. When we look over the next 10 years and longer, I think we're going to see the greatest center cities continue to evolve to more complete places. And that's been an aspiration of all of us technicians in the industry. But that's one of the good things that came out of COVID is we've had to rethink, how do we use this place? and that a singular focus on just business is not fully using the infrastructure. These places are the center of our road networks, bike networks, our transit networks, and the best are built in layers. They're great neighborhoods, they're great employment centers, they're great hospitality centers, they're great campuses. And I look forward to all of our downtowns, particularly Charlotte, just becoming more complete.
So let's play make believe for a moment, and we're going to pretend that you've been handed a magic wand, and you now have the power to wave your magic wand and promote the vitality of downtown Charlotte. Michael Smith, how would you use your magic wand?
Transit system would be in place instantly. Lots of TOD, incredible, intense mixed use, living, educating, vertical high school. We've got some really cool things we're doing around music with our Music Everywhere CLT plan. Boy, I would just so much more live music programmed into most books. And, not an entertainment district, but kind of an ever-present. So it's more about the time of day than the time.
So arts and entertainment, vitality, and make sure that people can get to them.
Amen.
Hey, Michael, before we wrap up, tell us how we can keep our eyes on Charlotte and you in particular.
Well, don't worry about keeping eyes on me. Keep an eye on Charlotte. Our website is charlottecentercity.org. It's got rich information there. If you're thinking about visiting Charlotte, one of the great times to do it is when we have Charlotte Shout. It's a 17-day-long festival. It's this intersection of arts, music, food, and ideas. Another great one is we now host and produce the music conference of the Carolinas called Confluence. And it's October 9 through 11 this year, and it's each fall. Shout is always the first 2 weeks.
And these are coming up. So Confluence is right around the corner, right?
Right.
Well, Michael, thank you so much for spending time with us today. Great conversation. It's just a real treat to learn more about what's going on in your world.
Jamie, thanks for the time. Great being with you. Thanks for creating this platform for this community to have these kinds of conversations.
And to our listeners, thanks again for watching another episode of Decoding Downtowns. I'd like to also call out Vistity for making this possible and sponsoring the podcast. And until we meet up again in another city, keep exploring and innovating in your
Thank you for joining us today for Decoding Downtowns. If you've enjoyed our podcast, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's brought to you by Vistity, the leading geospatial visualization platform for data-driven decisions. Stay connected, stay informed, and let's continue to shape the future of our cities together. Until next time, I'm Jamie Schwartzman.